Alright, first things first, Star Wars. The new Star Wars. I have been looking forward to this since like quite a while. I actually thought they were going to make one around 2009, 2010. First heard rumors back in 2005 or 6, but it was turned to be false. The thing is that like when I heard the rumors, it was nothing like what I thought would be like what it was going to be. George Lucas, I thought, still would have the rights by now. So glad JJ moved towards it, because the fact is, I saw Star Trek Into Darkness and the Star Trek 2009. They were awful. I didn't even want to see Star Trek 2009 in theaters because I knew it was going to contradict itself, and I was right. When I saw that video, it contradicted itself. And it was more of a glamorized version of Star Trek. In a sense, when I saw it, I was like, this is more Star Wars than Star Trek. So I'm so glad he just did Star Wars instead, and I've heard things that he may not actually do the next one. He should, but that's what I heard. The movie itself, I thought was good. I bet like it's a little bit politically correct. However, I mean, you got the main character to be girl, the guy, the funny guy is black because that's a new thing, funny black guy. But I did like Finn out of all the characters. Finn was my favorite. He was goofy, he was hilarious, and he just fits well. And I'm really the one thing that I didn't like was that the casting was over glamorized for the fact of the ethnicities and genders of each role. But I liked him, and I liked that they picked a cast that was not well known along with the original cast. So it is a new generation of actors that they're trying to put up and like get them like started. And I think whoever played Rey is really great. I forget the actors' names, unfortunately, except for the ones we know, such as Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford. The movie was overall amazing, but it had flaws. And I felt like JJ was just going to play it safe. Because, let's be honest, if he would have tried his best, and if his best wasn't good enough, it would have been the end for him. You cannot do the next installments of Star Wars and bomb. If you'll end up just like how George Lucas just ended up. Next on the list, Deadpool. Now, I will admit, this is a bias nonetheless. Out of anything else I've seen, Deadpool was the #1 thing I wanted to see. And I saw it, and I was not disappointed. I cannot really find anything wrong with it. Actually, I can, but that's kind of harder to do with this movie than with any other movie that I've seen thus far, is that I have such a unique bias. I read the comics, I was a huge fan of the game, as well as Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and the overall character, he's a troll, he's a dick, he's basically what I would love to, like, be. Maybe I am, I don't know. But he's the kind of guy I would love to just hang out with. He seems like he doesn't give a shit, and I think that's the greatest thing about him, is that he has no moral center. He is more like, I'll do what I think is right just to get things going. But it's like he doesn't do it for the greater good. He does it mostly for personal gain, but also he does have somewhat of a ethnic boundary, but it's hard for him to decide based on that, for the fact that he is an anti-hero. Or in better sense, if you ever go off like D&D, a chaotic neutral, I don't know. But he is definitely someone that I believe is against the establishment, against the system, is arguably one of the more out of the ordinary characters in the Marvel Universe. He doesn't want to play by the rules. He thinks there's other ways to get to the end objective without having to by the rules, and still technically in his mind be a good guy. But in other people's minds, it's not good. That's what I love about him. He doesn't see the world as black and white. He's completely just chaotic. And in a sense, he's a bit of a psychopath, by definition. He acts on impulse, and it's completely random. I love it. Alright, so I was just going to go back on saying the actual flaws I saw in the movie were some inconsistencies with the actual comics themselves. Very, very few, though. That's what's amazing. Because if you see any other Marvel movie or comic book movie in general, there's a lot more. This one probably had the least amount of inconsistencies out of any other comic book movie I've ever seen. The other problem I had, and this seems to be like a problem with all Marvel movies in general these days, with the exception of Loki, underdeveloped villains. Because Ajax was just a generic run-of-the-mill plug-em-in villain. And I felt like, well, I understand that this is not the kind of movie they're going to like go off of the main villain anyway, but I'm just so sick of seeing that in Marvel movies. With the exception of Loki, all villains, some are played by really good actors, they get killed off. And I'm like, why? They have good potential. I wanted to see more of Red Skull. Guess not. Zootopia, and this one's a bit of a controversy with among my peers. I didn't like it, and it's not that it's bad. It's just that where Deadpool would have been overhyped, this one is overrated because hype becomes before when the movie is out, and overrating something is when it's already out. This movie is completely overrated, and it's the fact that most people who see it are getting into like the whole Disney aspect of how things are just trending with that, and also because furries. Yeah, I don't see how it can be so good when it's just a run-of-the-mill Disney movie these days, and I don't think it can impress me that much when I consider in the 90s to be the Disney's renaissance, and when there's like you got to consider the writing, the character development, and the story behind it. So there was a flaw in each of those categories in Zootopia, and I'm actually about to explain that in a second. Basically, what we saw is that the characters, Nick and Judy, they were decent characters, but I didn't get invested into like wanting to know their backstories or even care about their backstories. I felt like the movie was trying to push you forward towards the social justice message. I'm like, I would have wanted to be involved in like knowing more about the characters, but they just only mentioned it in a few scenes, and then they moved on towards the actual story. So it's more like, we'll talk about the main story, we'll mention the characters a few times, but we're not going to have you invested in them. But that's what I wanted, was to be invested in them. So that was the number one problem. The number two problem, the same with the Marvel movies, is an underdeveloped villain. I'm not going to tell you who the villain was, and it was supposed to be somewhat of a twist, but I pretty much predicted it halfway through the movie. It's like, that one's going to be the villain. And I'm like, once they revealed who the villain was, it was pretty much like quick. It's like they introduced the villain, they captured the villain, the end. And I felt like, well, that was very anticlimactic. And the third thing I found wrong with the movie was the overall setting, because it just wasted a lot of potential with that, and that's a problem. Basically, it showed you this huge world where anthropomorphic furries lived in, and I'm like, wow, they show you in the just one scene, all these different worlds, all these different areas of Zootopia. You got an Arctic area, you got a desert, tropical, suburban, urban, and they mostly stay in the urban. Occasionally they go to one or two scenes in the other ones. You never get to see the desert one. And I'm like, did they just show you this just to like get you the idea of what Zootopia is? But I rather would have just actually explored it, because it seemed really interesting, and I want to know how these different animals interacted with their different environments, but they never do that. They never show you anything like that, and this was supposed to be a kid's film, and yet people are always going to criticize movies based on things that aren't meant to be seen by kids. So that's something that I saw. And next I'm going to talk about is the movies I'm looking forward to. Now, the movie that I'm least looking forward to is Dawn of Justice, and there's two reasons why. One, the initial trailer it just looked fan-made. And not a good fan-made like Deadpool. It just looked so corny. Especially the end part where, where they turned Zod into Doomsday? Really? So, Doomzod was basically going to, blast Batman, and then you thought Superman saved him for a second. This is in the trailer, by the way. And it was Wonder Woman. It was like, is she with you? I thought she was with you. Bum, bum, bum. And I'm like, that is so corny. And the frame shot is so corny. This is something I would see in a B movie. But no, they're really serious about like having it as a big epic movie. And I'm like, oh, they're rushing it, because they just want to catch up with Marvel at this point. And Marvel is starting to slip behind anyway, so who cares? But yeah, it's like, it looks so corny. And the other problem I have is the timing. You look at when it's coming out, and the timing could not be worse, because you got all these super movies. Super movies are at their pinnacle of hype now, and it's going to collapse in on itself. Starting with Dawn of Justice, trust me with that. If anything, people would rather see Civil War than Dawn of Justice, unless if you're a hardcore DC fan. And that's the thing, people are finally starting to get sick of it, so they need to be more creative. The DC's not going to be creative. Marvel is not being that creative. Ironically, I think Fox had no choice to be creative because of Fantastic Four almost killed them. That's why they had to do Deadpool. They need to know if they can actually do another superhero movie. And boom, they did. And they actually didn't have to do anything with it, because they actually gave it to the writers. Fantastic Four was tightly constricted with the producers, and that was a problem because no one liked that movie. The producers suck at Fox, and they got Ryan Reynolds and Miller to actually do Deadpool, and it was good. I don't want to overhype it anymore, even after it came out, but it was good. Zootopia was good, but no movie deserves more praise than what it's worth. Okay, so the next movies that I'm looking forward to, I'm not really looking forward to Independence Day, the new one. It's whatever the name was called. I feel like, I do think it looks cool, but I have this urge, just this weird feeling that it's gonna bomb. I don't know. I don't think it will be as bad as that new Ghostbusters. People are mad about that. So where Fox was like, the bad egg of last year, whoever, I think it was Paramount this year who made the new Ghostbusters, they're going to be the new bad egg, and they're going to really have to make up for that after that comes out, because no one's going to want to see their movies unless they come out with something really, really good. In fact, that's going to make them lose money coming out with that movie. The money that the movie is worth is going to be more than how much money they're going to make when people see the movie. That's a problem. That's lost profit. So what were you thinking? The number one movie I'm actually looking forward to, though, and it just was announced. It will not come out till 2017, however. March 24, 2017. Mark your calendars for this. A reboot of the Power Rangers movie. Actually, not the Power Rangers movie, but the show, preferably the first season, they say, into a movie. And this is it doesn't have Tommy, however. This is actually probably the first half of the first season. So it's going to have Billy, it's going to have Jason, it's going to have Trini, it's going to have Zach. Trying to remember Jason and Rita. Rita will be the villain. So it can't be past the part where they have Lord Zed, which I think would have been cooler. But regardless, that could be a sequel. And who knows? Maybe the Green Ranger will be in the sequel. But they did claim that they're going to do it as at least 4 movies. So the first one comes out in 2017. They started filming back in February 29th in Vancouver. They were originally supposed to film in January, but they just didn't have the they just had to postpone it. I had no idea why. I looked into it. I missed that part, but I was definitely keeping an eye on it. And when it was confirmed officially, I just started telling people about it as hey, this is going to happen. And then a few years later, they even released the cast info. And they changed some of the characters' ethnicities. I predicted that there are going to be a slew of movies coming out that are all going to be 90s movies. And why do you think that? Well, let's consider for a fact from 2005 up to at least 2000, the beginning of 2015, where a lot of these movies were based off of 80s shows. You got Transformers, G.I. Joe, Garfield, Smurfs, and a bunch of others really bad ones. And I'm not saying that we'll have bad ones, we probably will, but now we're moving towards the 90s time frame, because from 2015, the end of 2015 and up, we already have Goosebumps. That was a huge thing, because you gotta be a Goosebumps fan, or Are You Afraid of the Dark? You could be both. It wasn't like a with us or against us kind of thing back then like it is now. But I watched both, and they're really good, and they had the books back then too. But as I predicted, there's going to be a lot of 90s movies coming up, and let me tell you what's already going to be confirmed. First off, right off the bat, we know Power Rangers is going to be made. They're writing a script for Sonic the Hedgehog, like a live-action CGI sort of thing, which I don't know how it'll turn out, but I want to see it regardless, because I predicted that. And Legends of... Now, the ones that I think should also make, and this is just an opinion, they definitely need to make a Gargoyles movie. Hands down, they need to make a Gargoyles movie. Probably like a Babysitter Club movie. Although I'm not really for that. I'm just thinking that will be made eventually. Hopefully. I don't know. But that they want their market to be sold, they'll have to do it. And, that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of shows in the 90s or the 80s that were considered iconic. We could get like a 90s movie reboot animated. We could get a reboot of the Rugrats. Probably not. You've seen Baby Geniuses. That would be awful. Or how about this? Dexter's Laboratory. That would be amazing as live action. I would love to see that. So, yeah, these are movies that these are shows I want to see be made into movies that I watched growing up. So we got Power Rangers first of all, and then we got these 2 other ones that are confirmed. But now, I'm going to stick on to the Power Rangers part. So this is the #1 movie I want to see next year, March 24th. Probably opening night. I even marked my calendar. But basically, back in January, actually before that, there were rumors about them starting to make a movie, and they said we'll film it in January. And I then heard something about that they had to postpone it. I was like, oh great, this may be one of those things that would be caught in like a movie purgatory. Turns out it didn't. By the end of February 29th, they just started filming. They started filming in Vancouver, and they already have the cast info set out. They have the plot released online, the synopsis, and they also announced what it's going to be, who's playing who, and Rita. This is going to be based off the first half of the first season of the original Power Rangers, and it's being done as a movie. So we got Rita, we got Billy, we got Jack, we got Jason, we got Trini, we got Kimberly. I hate Kimberly. And yeah, that's the original 5. And I'm surprised that in the original version I actually forgot to mention Kimberly in my rant thus far. But yeah, they're gonna have all of them except for Tommy. Tommy is like in the second part of the first season, so we know that there's probably going to be like a sequel or maybe like an after credits thing. They're going to actually reveal Tommy, and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And they want to do it as like a 4 parts at least, like 4 movies at least, just like they did Transformers. This may be the Transformers for the 90s kids. That's like a big thing in the 80s, and they made like a whole movie thing, and now this may be the next one. Just keep it away from Michael Bay. Yeah, and I predict that if they do make more movies, we're going to have them going to space. We're going to have them, you know, with Tommy. Tommy's going to be evil maybe in the sequel. We'll maybe have Lord Zed in the 3rd one. I'm like, this is going to be amazing towards me, and it's just like, it's in my inner childhood. I want to see this. I want to get invested into it. But even if it sucked, I'll definitely want to check it out, because this is something that they're going to sucker me into, and I know that, and that's why they're doing it. They know that this is the next generation of movies they're going to make, and I predicted that from the get-go.